I do believe that there is a certain inborn talent for improvisation that helps a person, if they're interested, if they can draw on that genetic advantage, that's helpful. But an awful lot of it, I think, is interest in it, access to opportunities to learn it, permission to have that experience, and not having any kind of psychological obstruction that gets in the way of allowing yourself to enter that terrain where improvisation is possible. And the kinds of psychological issues that frequently do get in the way of people doing that are people that have big issues about losing control, who have tremendous need for structure and reassurance that what they're doing every moment is right. And it's one of the things that makes it very hard for classical musicians to make a transition into also being able to improvise. They might play a wrong note. How do you know? You have all these possibilities. What makes that note better than another?
Yeah.
And they can be paralyzed by that.
Right.
Sometimes people who have a lot of talent, and I guess over the years I've probably worked with a somewhat higher percentage of performing artists in my private practice than other psychotherapists. And I've seen certain themes repeat that seem to get in the way of people being able to improvise well. One is this control issue that I've mentioned. Another theme is the fear of failure. People who have tremendous concerns about public humiliation, that they're going to do it wrong and they'll be blamed, or that they'll never be able to feel good about themselves. It's hard to take a risk. Improvising music entails a certain amount of risk-taking if you really want to get into something new. You have to be willing to break new ground. You have to be willing to fall on your face, to make an error, and for that not to be disastrous. For some people, psychologically, that's scary territory. Then there's another whole group of people with a different theme that gets in their way. People who feel very guilty about being successful, which is actually a very common theme in human life. People who feel on some level they don't deserve to be powerful, they don't deserve to be successful. Often it entails a belief acquired in childhood that for them to be powerful and successful means taking it away from someone else, from a sibling or from a parent that was hurting or a father that was depressed. So they end up feeling they have to hold themselves back. These people operate as though there's a governor on their motor all the time. They're able to brilliantly snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. So those people have trouble getting up on the stage and letting themselves play as good as they can. They end up making mistakes, self-sabotaging.
Wow.
In the course of psychotherapy, they may be able to understand this theme and rework it and get freed up, and I've certainly had patients who were performers who have done just that. I mean, one saxophone player that I recall years ago who seemed to be getting criticized by the members of his band all the time because he wasn't playing well enough. But he brought tapes in for me to hear, and I could hear that he had tremendous talent. And in the course of our work, it emerged that he felt very guilty that he was favored over his younger brother as he was growing up. Because of that guilt, he felt he didn't have a right to be better than the other members in his band. It was as if he had siblings in his band, and he couldn't repeat this crime again. So he leveled himself, even put himself lower than his bandmates, even though he really was the best player in the band. And gradually, over the course of psychotherapy, he felt freed up from that belief and began to really unfurl musically, and he was out there on the bandstand kicking ass.